I arranged blind dates for my boss and every single one fell through. In desperation, I slammed all the photos down in front of him. Boss, just pick one. As long as they catch your eye, I will tie them up and drag them to your house if I have to. The boss gave me 2 looks and reached out to sift through the photos. Suddenly, my ID photo fell out. I was just about to grab it when he pinned my hand down. This one. Tonight. Wash up clean and deliver yourself over. No way. Does being an executive assistant also require selling your body? Chapter 1. Edwin, are you exactly my executive assistant? Or my mother's? I smiled and placed the photos in front of Arthur. Formerly your father's, currently yours, but that doesn't change my principle of listening to the madam. After all, even the most powerful person in the company has to listen to the madam, let alone an ordinary employee like me trying to make a living under them. Mr. Arthur, you can take a look at all of them. Arthur raised his eyes to look at me. And then pick one? I maintained a polite smile. And then choose who to meet first. Meeting just one was definitely a no-go. If he only needed to meet one, the madam wouldn't have given me so many photos. Hearing this, the corner of Arthur's mouth twitched. Expressionless, he pushed the photos away, rejecting it outright. Not looking, not picking, not going. Mr. Arthur, but... Before I could finish speaking, he rolled his eyes at me. Assistant Edwin, you are just an executive assistant. Having been warned, I swallowed a stomach full of words. Of course I know I'm just an executive assistant, but who made it so that the executive assistant in your family has to do everything? When Madame Mariah approached me, I was 100 times unwilling. After all, who would go looking for trouble for themselves when they have nothing to do? But I had to admit, there was a reason Madame Mariah had a firm foothold in the Garcia family. One smile, one look, and my legs instantly went weak. Assistant Edwin, I know this kind of thing shouldn't be your job, but can you bear to watch your boss turn 30 and still be single? I can. After all, I'm 28 and still single too. Madam, I know you care about Mr. Arthur, but you also know his temper. If I arrange a blind date for him, I might get fired tomorrow just for stepping into the company with my left foot first. Madame Mariah smiled. It's fine. Then just step in with your right foot first tomorrow. No. Is that the point? Isn't the point that I can't do such a stupid thing? Madam, I truly cannot handle this matter. Assistant Edwin, if you can't do it, no one can. I helplessly rubbed my forehead. Who on earth gave her this kind of blind trust? I admit I'm a bit capable, a bit meticulous, and have strong abilities, but that doesn't mean I can do something with no guarantee of success. All right, Assistant Edwin, I've handed the things over to you. How you convince Arthur is your business. I just want to see results. Madam, get it done, and I'll double your salary. The words of refusal that reached my lips were swallowed back down. Doubled salary. There's hope for my mortgage. Actually, madam, to tell you the truth, I'm the kind of person who loves challenging tasks. Don't worry. I guarantee the mission will be accomplished. So, I looked at Arthur, put away the thoughts of backing out, and continued to smile. Mr. Arthur, seeing how much the madam worries about your marriage, you should feel some heartache for her. No, I don't feel heartache. I am an unfilial person. Fine, 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 you're not just unfilial, you simply have no conscience, no love, and no sympathy. But this is a task assigned by the madam. If I can't complete it... Arthur finally glanced at me. Assistant Edwin, have you not been very busy with work lately? What makes you say that? Otherwise, why would you agree to this kind of thing? Sigh. As the old saying goes, men die for wealth, birds die for food. Of course it's because I empathize with the madams. Tell the truth. The madam said as long as you go on the blind dates, my salary will be doubled. The way Arthur looked at me became even more disgusted. A person like him, whose bathroom is bigger than my living room, obviously couldn't understand us working-class folks burdened with mortgages. Mr. Arthur, just go and take a look. I've already screened them for you. These people have looks if you want looks, and if you want talent, they have looks. Anyway, they all have looks. Edwin, if you don't know how to speak, keep your mouth shut. Hey, how do I not know how to speak? If I didn't know how to speak, could I have made it to this position? Mr. Arthur, I understand how you feel about not wanting to go on blind dates. With a status like yours, you definitely don't want to be sized up and picked over like merchandise. I'm the one picking them. Sai, isn't it all the same? Even though he's the one going on the date, the other party might not necessarily take a fancy to him. Of course, that possibility is very small. Anyway, at least you still have choices and a chance to find true love. As for me, I no longer have that chance. Arthur abruptly looked up, a pair of beautiful eyes locking onto me like an eagle. You have someone you like? Or a secret crush? Or are you dating someone? Hey, how is this any of your business? But seeing that he seemed a bit shaken, I hurried to strike while the iron was hot. To tell you the truth, I recently found out that the person I secretly have a crush on has a partner. I didn't even get the chance to confess. It's truly a pity. You still have the chance to find true love right now, you should cherish it. I thought he would sympathize with me, but after hearing it, the corners of his mouth curled up in a bizarre way, as if he had encountered something good. Sure enough, people's happiness is built upon the suffering of others. He truly deserves to be condemned. Mr. Arthur, if you still don't agree, I'll have no choice but to report back to the madam and have her and the chairman personally talk to you. Fine. Ha! Arthur's fingers sifted through the photos on the table and finally selected a young man with delicate, handsome features. I'll meet with this one first. You arrange the time and place, but it cannot delay work. Before I could recover from my shock, just as I was about to write it down, his gaze returned to me. However, Arthur stood up from his chair and walked over to me. With a height of nearly 1.9 meters, 6 feet 3 inches, even though I'm 1.8 meters, 5 feet 11 inches, standing in front of him, I still felt a tremendous sense of oppression. I can go on the blind dates, but you have to accompany me to every single one. If you miss one, I won't go. Ha! Chapter 2. You're saying that not only do you have to arrange blind dates for your secret crush, but you also have to personally accompany him? I poked the rice in my bowl forcefully, forced to swallow my frustration and accept Nora's teasing. Yeah, other guys are mama's boys who bring their moms to blind dates. What does that make me? An assistant's boy? I was instantly left speechless. This was worse than killing me. But are you really not going to confess? He's going on blind dates anyway. What if one actually succeeds? Forget it. He won't like me. Rather than saying Arthur wouldn't like me, it was more accurate to say he was staunchly against office romances. In his eyes, work and private life had to be strictly separated. This was also why so many business partners who pursued him were rejected one by one. So, if I confessed, there would be only one outcome: getting rejected and fired. My mortgage isn't paid off yet. I don't want to lose my job. After hanging up with Nora, I looked at the schedule for the next few days and forcefully squeezed out some time to arrange the blind dates. Sometimes I really wanted to just invite the dates straight to the company. It would save the trouble of running around, provide a fixed venue, and I wouldn't even need to make restaurant reservations. How great would that be? But having such an absurd thought meant my brain was probably fried from eating too many cheap takeout meals. I thought arranging the time and place for the blind dates was painful enough. I didn't expect that accompanying him to the dates would be the beginning of a true nightmare. Heaven knows where Arthur came up with so many bizarre excuses to reject people. Blind date number 1. Your fortune clashes with mine. If we get together, the company's development will be affected. I can live without a wife, but I can't live without money. My apologies. Such a perfectly innocent boy. His eyes turned red after hearing that, and he looked at me pitifully. But I still sent him off with dignity. Blind date number 2. Sorry, you're not the look I prefer. I'm shallow about looks. You're too much. Even if you're handsome, you can't attack someone else's looks like that. You have no manners at all. I silently picked up a folder to shield Arthur from the incoming splash of lemon water. Only after the person left did I softly remind him, Mr. Arthur, you could be a bit more tactful with your rejections. Oh. Blind date number 3. Sorry, you're not pleasing to my eyes. After meeting 7 or 8 people in 1 week, I was almost exhausted to death. I really couldn't figure out where he got so many reasons for rejection. If it wasn't the wrong looks, it was clashing fortunes. If it wasn't unpleasing to the eye, It was an inappropriate height or age. They didn't mind him being older, yet he minded them being too young. Although rendered speechless, I dutifully arranged the final date. Mr. Arthur, based on my observations, this last one is definitely your type. Arthur paused his hand that was adjusting his cuff, his gaze profound. You know what type I like? Probably. Arthur got out of the car first and I followed behind. This blind date certainly didn't disappoint me. They were suitable in every aspect. Compatible fortunes, good looks, a good personality, and most importantly, they didn't mind Arthur's temper. Although their family background wasn't top tier, they were still a well-known family in our circle. Seeing that the two were chatting quite well, I shot him a look from the sidelines, signaling him to keep up the good conversation and not mess it up. But the next second, he suddenly leaned over and helped me adjust my tie. The scene instantly froze, but I quickly smoothed things over, and the chat continued. I breathed a sigh of relief and was about to drink some water to calm my nerves, but who knew I drank too fast and choked. Just as I was about to stand up, Arthur moved even faster. He intimately leaned over to pat my back and soothe my breath, even pulling a tissue to wipe my mouth. Seriously? Doing this to me right in front of your blind date, is that polite? I looked across the table, feeling utterly dead inside. Just as I was about to explain, the other party had already stood up. Since Mr. Arthur already has someone in his heart, there is no need to continue this blind date. Excuse me, I'll be leaving now. No, please don't. The little man inside my heart was streaming with tears. Who would have thought that I would be the one to ruin the final blind date? Madam, I have failed you. Turning my head, the main culprit was already sitting far away from me, drinking his coffee all alone. I knew it, he definitely did it on purpose. I apologize, madam, but Mr. Arthur didn't fancy a single one. It's fine, it's fine. Assistant Edwin, it's already quite impressive that you managed to convince him to meet them. Keep up the good work. Hanging up the phone, I got into the car with Arthur, feeling like life had lost its meaning. Mr. Driver, take Assistant Edwin home first. I didn't refuse. I considered this my compensation for the day. Once I regained my composure, I sat up straight and said to Arthur seriously, Mr. Arthur, I know you did that on purpose today. I'll let it slide today, but I hope you will keep your distance from me in the future. What distance? The normal distance between a superior and a subordinate. Things like adjusting ties and patting backs shouldn't happen between us. Arthur lost his usual seriousness. He leaned lazily against the back of the seat, his eyes flirtatious and alluring, like a goblin in the dark night. I controlled myself from looking away. Whoever looked away first would lose. Why? What else could the reason be? I came up with an all-purpose excuse. Because I already have someone I like. That secret crush? Crap, I forgot about that. No, I changed the person I like. After I said that, nobody spoke until the car stopped at my front door. The silence was so suffocating I could barely breathe. Once we arrived, I couldn't wait to get out of the car, but Arthur grabbed my wrist. What is the person you like? Seeing his expression, as if he wouldn't let me out unless I told him, and knowing I couldn't say it was him, my brain spun fast, and I described a very popular senior from my university days. As a result, after listening, he only had one review. You have really terrible taste. Tell me, how can a person be so rude? Ha 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 ha. He really said that? Could it be fake? To be honest, I thought I misheard him at first, but he actually repeated it. Don't you think he's too annoying? Nora laughed happily on the other end of the phone. Why do I feel like he's jealous? Could it be that he has a secret crush on you? I leaned against the balcony railing, feeling the evening breeze. Impossible. You're overthinking it. He's just purely dissatisfied with me arranging so many blind dates. All right. Since what you said was fake anyway, no harm done. Thinking about it, that's true. The anger came fast and faded fast. It was just that the next day at the company, I finally learned what retribution meant. Chapter 3. Edwin. What a coincidence. Just as I got off the elevator with Arthur and arrived at the CEO's office, an enthusiastic call came from behind. Arthur, who already had one foot inside the office, abruptly stopped in his tracks. If I could, I really wanted to just shove him inside. But I didn't dare. I could only turn around and face it with a smile. Marcy, my college senior, and the poor sap I dragged in to act as my shield last night. Oh wait, no, I am the biggest poor sap now. I smiled, but it looked uglier than crying. Who would have thought that today, Marcy would become my colleague? Hello, Mr. Arthur. Arthur nodded, looking Marcy up and down. Just as he was about to speak, I preemptively cut him off. Senior, Mr. Arthur, and I still have matters to report. I'll come find you later. Then I hurriedly opened the door and shoved Arthur inside. Only after closing the door did I breathe a sigh of relief. What matters do you have to report? Haha, what matters did I have? After finally managing to fool Arthur, I left the office and found Marcy in the break room. Having not seen him for years since graduation, he was still as handsome as ever, just with a few more traces of working life on his face. Senior, I didn't expect you to join our company. Why didn't you say anything beforehand? During the interview, I thought I had no hope, so I didn't say anything. I didn't expect to get lucky and get in. I figured we'd have plenty of chances to meet in the future, so I didn't tell you in advance. I nodded, wanting to tell him not to take it to heart if Arthur targeted him. But then I figured Arthur didn't even know him, so I dismissed the thought. Edwin, wanna grab dinner after work? Catch up a bit. Being able to work in the same company after graduation is quite a serendipity. I was just about to agree, considering I hadn't contacted my college friends in years. Assistant Edwin has no time. He has to accompany me for overtime tonight. Arthur's voice suddenly rang out. I nearly crushed the cup in my hand. When was overtime arranged for me? Why didn't I know about this? Ah, I see. Then let's reschedule for another day. Marcy smiled at me considerately. I was just about to return the smile when Arthur called me away. What are you smiling for? Your smile is so ugly. Smile less in the future. My life is already miserable enough. Entering the office, I was just about to ask him what he needed when I heard him ask, "He's your new secret crush?" Without waiting for my answer, he added, "Your taste really is terrible. Mr. Arthur, personal attacks are not nice." In the afternoon, I received the photos couriered by Madame Mariah. Only then did I understand what she meant by, "Keep up the good work." With so many candidates, I indeed needed to keep up the good work. I was truly defeated. Weren't there a bit too many people in this circle? He had already met so many before. How could there still be this many? The next second, I received a message from Madame Mariah. Madame Mariah, Assistant Edwin, you've received the photos, right? Remember to have Arthur pick through them carefully. Me, understood. Could I refuse? Of course not. So I could only carry the thick stack of photos back to the CEO's office. This time, I gave up on the idea of introducing them one by one. It was useless anyway, he wouldn't listen. It would be better to let him choose the ones he liked and meet them. However many he likes, pick that many. Even if the other party didn't like him, I wanted to tie them up and take them to his house. However, before I could sort them out, I was called away, conveniently leaving the photos on my desk. By the time I finished my work and went back, it was almost time to clock out. I hurriedly grabbed the photos from the desk, rushed into the office, and threw the thick stack of photos directly onto Arthur's desk. What is this? I stood respectfully to the side. The new blind date candidates the madam found for you. Arthur looked at me helplessly. Assistant Edwin, have you not realized how busy we are lately? I scratched my head in embarrassment. It's not like I'm saying he has to meet them all. Isn't this letting him choose for himself? I'm not saying you have to meet all of them. Just pick a few you like, and then we'll arrange a time and place. And don't worry, this time, as long as it's someone you fancy, I will tie them up and drag them to your house if I have to. Arthur's face darkened. Just as I thought he was going to blow up, I didn't see the expected fury. This time, he obediently began flipping through the photos instead. He looked through countless photos, yet not a single one was picked out. Not even one. There were some that even made my heart flutter looking at them. How could he be so indifferent? His standards are really high. Suddenly, Arthur's hand stopped flipping. My heart leapt into my throat. Did he find someone he fancies? But when my gaze fell on the photo in his hand, my heart nearly jumped out of my chest. No way, How did my photo get mixed in there? I reached out to grab it, but Arthur was a step faster, picking up the photo and examining it closely. Then he turned the photo toward me. Those beautiful eyes looked at me, but the words that came out of his mouth were far from polite. Didn't Assistant Edwin say that whoever I fancy, you'll tie them up and drag them to my house? All right then, I fancy this one. How about this? Wash up clean tonight and deliver yourself to my bed. You can do that, right? Chapter 4. My mind went completely blank, and everything around me seemed to fade away. An indescribable emotion swelled in my heart. It wasn't happiness. I knew Arthur wasn't serious. He was just joking. He was just joking. Once I understood this, I suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. But for that split second just now, my heart truly did skip a beat. It was like a secret buried deep in my heart for years had suddenly been discovered. Now all that remained was the sourness of having my feelings toyed with. But I suppose Arthur's actions didn't really count as toying with me. After all, he didn't take this seriously at all. He didn't even take it to heart. Mr. Arthur, I don't like this. I suppressed my emotions and spoke up, telling him that I didn't appreciate this kind of joke. As soon as I spoke, Arthur's expression changed. The relaxed, teasing mood from a moment ago vanished instantly. He also dropped his smile. Silently, he took the photo back. Don't like it? If you don't like it, why did you slip the photo in? Or is Assistant Edwin doing this on purpose? I frowned. On purpose for what? Arthur tossed my photo aside and leaned back in his chair. He looked at me with a half smile. Slipping the photo in on purpose to catch my attention, and then pretending to be completely innocent. Arthur's tone made me even more uncomfortable. I never thought such words would come out of his mouth. The mockery was thick. It was as if I came to work by his side just to seduce him. Mr. Arthur, the photo ending up here was purely an accident. Of course, if you insist on believing I did it on purpose, I have nothing to say. But if that's the case, I don't think there's any need for me to continue staying by your side. I will resign voluntarily. After saying that, I took a step forward, preparing to take my photo back. I had just pinched one corner of the photo when Arthur pressed down on the other side. I tried to pull it. It didn't budge, so I prepared to give up. It was just a photo. It wasn't like I was short of one. I'm sorry. Arthur's words left me frozen in place. For a second, I thought I had misheard him. After all, how could such words possibly come out of Arthur's mouth? In my impression, the word sorry would never exist in his dictionary. I looked at him in confusion, but he avoided my gaze. Looking somewhat frustrated, he pinched the bridge of his nose. I shouldn't have said that to you just now. It was my fault. I was too impulsive. Pursed my lips. After all, if I resigned from here, I might not be able to find a better job. Plus, I hadn't even gotten my double salary yet. What surprised me was, having followed Arthur for so long, this was the first time he had ever apologized to me. It's fine. I know Mr. Arthur didn't mean it. I won't hold it against you. Arthur let out a soft humph. Don't even think about resigning. I won't agree to it. Oh, okay. Best not to agree. I had absolutely no intention of resigning anyway. I picked up my ID photo and held it in my hand, getting ready to leave. I was supposed to give this photo to the HR department today, but I had been too busy. As a result, it was left on the desk and got mixed up with all these blind date photos, causing such a massive misunderstanding. From now on, no matter what it is, I have to put things away properly. Then, Mr. Arthur, I'll go ahead and throw all the photos away. Huh? But the madam asked you to pick. Arthur looked at me somewhat fiercely, but quickly suppressed his temper. I'll go talk to my mom. You don't need to worry about it. Also, from now on, whatever she asks you to do, remember to tell me first. You can only do it after I agree. Otherwise, over time, you'll truly forget whose executive assistant you are. I nodded, then clocked out of work, conveniently throwing all those photos straight into the trash can. Thinking about what just happened, I didn't know if I felt bitter or something else. But thinking about it, I really hadn't liked the wrong person. At the very least, he knew when he did something wrong and knew how to apologize. Chapter 5. When I first entered the industry, I wasn't Arthur's assistant, but his father's. At that time, the group was still managed by Mr. Kevin. Arthur was also in the company, but his position wasn't high. We would occasionally see each other, but we didn't have any interaction. As I mastered the skills of an executive assistant step by step, Arthur also climbed to his current position step by step through his own hard work. Then Mr. Kevin retired and handed the company over to Arthur. I originally thought I would have to find another job, but I ended up being assigned as Arthur's executive assistant. At first, I had some stereotypes about him. After all, he really did look hard to get along with, especially since he had a face that looked like a total playboy's. But after interacting with him for a long time, I realized the truth. Let alone playing around, he didn't even have a single close person by his side. His only pastime was working out, or just staying at home. He would occasionally go out drinking, but was very restrained and almost never got drunk. Anyway, he was completely different from what I had imagined, and I don't know when it started, but my heart gradually fluttered for him. But having made it to where I am today, I am not the impulsive type to casually confess my feelings. In the adult world, even with romance, one must consider many practical issues. Between Arthur and me, it's not just a superior-subordinate relationship. There is also a gap in status and social standing. I am too far beneath him, so I'd better just drop it. At least things are fine the way they are right now. Before, I thought that once I paid off my mortgage, if Arthur was already married, I would resign. Now it seems I can stay by his side a little longer. After that day, although I didn't report back on the blind dates, Madame Mariah didn't message me to ask either. Arthur must have already handled it. Since it was so easy to handle, why didn't he just say he wouldn't go on blind dates from the very beginning? But I can't guess a boss's thoughts. Better not to try. After the blind dates were canceled, I suddenly had a lot of free time. Thinking back to those previous blind date arrangements, I really didn't know if they were torturing me or torturing Arthur. Anyway, I didn't get a single peaceful night's sleep during that time. Now that I've been resting well lately, my mood naturally improved, and everyone looked a lot more pleasing to the eye. Assistant Edwin, has something good happened to you lately? You're beaming every day. A colleague standing next to me asked. Not working overtime is the best thing, of course I'm happy, I answered with a smile. That's true, we were swamped a while ago, and you even had to accompany Mr. Arthur to his blind dates, which is even more exhausting. By the way, how are Mr. Arthur's blind dates progressing? I glanced at my colleague, my eyes saying it all. Can we casually gossip about the boss's private affairs? Okay, consider me a blabbermouth. Shouldn't ask about the boss's business. The colleague tactfully changed the subject. The elevator reached our floor, and the colleague handed me a document. Please help me pass this document to Mr. Arthur. Assistant Edwin. Thank you. You're welcome. I took the document and nodded. The elevator doors closed and continued up, stopping at the CEO's office. At this time, everyone was getting ready for lunch, and there were barely any people still working in the office. I planned to give the document to Arthur first. It wouldn't be too late to go down and eat afterward. Walking to the office door, I was just about to knock when I heard a voice coming through the crack. Don't mention the blind dates anymore. There won't be any in the future. I didn't fancy a single one of those people you introduced. Arthur's voice carried obvious impatience. My hand stopped in midair, and driven by some unknown force, I stopped at the door to eavesdrop. Growing old and dying alone won't happen to me, don't worry. Just as I was hesitating whether I should leave first, Arthur's next words made me freeze completely. Besides, I already have someone I like, and I'm currently pursuing them. Once I've won them over, I'll tell you. So stop arranging blind dates. He has someone he likes? Since when? I'm by his side every day. How did I not notice at all? Could it be someone he met recently? That would explain why he didn't refuse the blind dates before, but started pushing them away recently. Many thoughts flashed through my mind, but I couldn't make sense of them. I had a premonition that perhaps very soon, Arthur would appear in front of me with someone, introduce them as the person he likes, and then ask me to help take care of them. Arranging blind dates for my secret crush was suffocating enough. If I had to take care of his girlfriend too, then I'd truly be suffocating for the rest of my life. I was so lost in thought that I completely failed to notice when Arthur walked out. When the door was pulled open, my hand was still resting on the doorknob, and I was almost yanked inside with it. Assistant Edwin? What are you doing here? Arthur looked at me probingly. I was on the phone just now. You didn't hear anything, did you? I quickly adjusted my state and hung a professional smile on my face. I didn't hear anything. I just arrived. This is a document the colleague downstairs asked me to give you. If there's nothing else, I'll go eat now. After shoving the folder into Arthur's hands, I turned and left. How can a person be this unlucky? When I went downstairs to eat, I actually bumped into Marcy. He looked even more haggard than I did, as if he was in a really bad mood. Junior, want to go grab a drink after work? He asked me. Senior, that's exactly what I had in mind, I replied. Pulling myself together to finish the afternoon's work, I hurried out the moment it was time to clock off, afraid that Arthur would ask me to work overtime again. I absolutely didn't want to work overtime anymore, so I left directly without saying goodbye to him. If he needed anything, he would call me anyway. Arriving at a bar near the company, I saw my senior as soon as I walked in. Two people frustrated in love sat together, only to realize we were both troubled by romantic matters. Marcy's girlfriend had recently broken up with him and refused to get back together no matter what. He originally thought he hadn't done well enough, but didn't expect his girlfriend to turn around and get together with another man. By the looks of it, he had probably been cheated on. Senior, it's okay. You'll find someone better. I clinked glasses with him. And what's going on with you? He asked. Me? The person I secretly have a crush on has someone they like. It's completely hopeless now. My senior patted my shoulder. Are they together? Not yet. I heard he's still pursuing them. Then go confess. It might just work out. Nora had said the same thing back then, but if I could really do that, I would have done it long ago. Some things just aren't that simple. I shook my head. I can't. He's too hard to pursue. I would definitely get rejected. The senior looked at me in exasperation, wishing I had more spine. How hard can it be? Is he like Mr. Arthur or something? I nodded. Then forget it. The senior sighed. Actually, sometimes just bottling up a secret crush is pretty good too. At least you haven't been rejected, and you can still hold onto a bit of hope. That made so much sense, but it's just too pathetic, isn't it? By the time I drank until my head was dizzy and bloated, Marcy could barely stand either. We still had to work tomorrow. We needed to go home. I patted him, getting ready to tell him to pay the bill and leave. Who knew that as soon as I looked up, I'd see a familiar figure in the crowd. I was just about to say hi, but then I felt it couldn't possibly be Arthur. He never came to places like this. I proactively walked over, thinking to myself, since I can't have the real deal, finding a stand-in wouldn't be bad either. Hey, Edwin, where are you going? Marcy asked. To hook up with a stand-in. Before I even walked over, the person had already stepped right in front of me. Looking closely, they looked even more alike, practically a carbon copy of Arthur. But why was he so angry? Did the person he liked also have a partner? Edwin, I called you so many times, why did you? He is so loud. I just threw myself right into his arms. Stop being so loud. How much money do you want? What money? How much money will it take for you to be my stand-in? Chapter 6. I can't really remember what happened after that. I only remember Marcy seeming to try and pull me away halfway through, but I pushed him away without an ounce of mercy. And then I clung onto that guy who looked a lot like Arthur, refusing to let go. As for what happened in the end, I couldn't remember a single thing. When I woke up on a soft bed the next day, my brain wasn't completely lucid yet, but I heard a familiar voice coming from the doorway. Assistant Edwin, finally awake? Honestly, the moment I heard Arthur's voice, I almost fell out of bed. Fortunately, I managed to control my body at the critical moment. But could someone please tell me why I am here? However, now wasn't the time to think about this. The most pressing matter was how to safely get out of Arthur's bed. Mr. Arthur, last night. Before I could finish my sentence, Arthur spoke up. That's right. I was the one who picked you up last night. Picked me up? Wasn't I drinking with Marcy yesterday? Has my senior become so irresponsible now that he would just throw a friend on the side of the road? Many possibilities flashed through my mind, but they were ultimately all dismissed because there was no way to verify them. Really? Arthur stood at the door with his arms crossed. Perhaps because he was at home, he was dressed very casually. Even after following him for so many years, I rarely saw him like this. It was unfamiliar yet still attractive. I couldn't help but want to take a few more glances, but afraid of being caught, I could only peek secretly. Little did I know, this kind of behavior is even more obvious in other people's eyes. Assistant Edwin, do you really like the clothes I'm wearing? Do you want me to give you a set? I froze, the tips of my ears suddenly turning red. Who wants his clothes? Barely managing to mentally prepare myself, I got out of bed. I'm sorry, Mr. Arthur, for troubling you last night. Thank you for bringing me back. I stood in front of Arthur with my head bowed, only wanting to quickly put on my own clothes and get out of here. But he didn't speak, nor did he let me leave, so I could only continue standing there. Let's go, time to eat. Ha! I ate breakfast at his house in a daze and changed into my clothes, which had already been washed and dried. As for who helped me change my clothes last night, I didn't dare think too much about it. Arthur only had me as his executive assistant. The other assistants left after work. His house only had an auntie who cooked. So, forget it, I won't think about it. He doesn't have those kinds of feelings for me anyway. It's just changing clothes. It's not like he could let me sleep in his bed wearing clothes reeking of alcohol, right? Wait, why did I sleep in his bed? You're saying that after getting drunk. Not only did you enter your secret crush's house, but you also slept in his bed, were stripped naked by him and seen all over, and put on his pajamas? Nora asked exaggeratedly. I interrupted her. It was a perfectly normal thing. How did you make it sound so ambiguous? Mr. Arthur is not that kind of person. Well, was he the one who changed your clothes or not? I pursed my lips. It was him. Then there you go. Even if he didn't look on purpose, he couldn't have kept his eyes closed while changing your clothes. Right? I wanted to die even more. Yesterday, I even went to the company together with Arthur. Although usually I also wait for him to go upstairs together, this time was different. We departed from the exact same place. In order not to think about that night, I kept myself busy all day yesterday, even refusing Marcy when he tried to talk to me. I had a premonition that whatever he wanted to say would only make me feel worse. Finally making it to my day off, I immediately invited Nora out. We are childhood friends and have always had a great relationship. But don't you really think your boss treats you a little differently? I poked at my straw. What's different about it? If it were any other assistant, he would have helped them too. Nora shook her head. Help is one thing, but would he take other assistants home? Let them sleep in his own bed? Wear his own pajamas? My heart wavered a bit, but thinking about it, I felt it was impossible. Maybe because I'm his executive assistant, so it's a bit special. Anyway, he definitely doesn't mean it that way, and besides, he already has someone he likes. Alright, think whatever you want. But isn't the thing you should be worrying about the most right now? Nora paused deliberately. You drank way too much the night before last. Did you happen to spill all your feelings and confess? You know what you're like when you're drunk. My head buzzed, and I was completely dumbfounded. How could I have forgotten this detail? When I drink too much, I really do love to spout nonsense, blabbering nonstop no matter who the other person is. I had completely forgotten about this yesterday. Probably not. If I had said it, he definitely would have told me yesterday. But he acted perfectly normal. Who knows? What if he just wants to tease you, or knowing you like him, he's secretly rejoicing? Anything is possible. Because of Nora's words, I couldn't fall asleep all night. The next day, I slept until the afternoon, and then suffered from insomnia again that night. When I went to work on Monday, my condition was at rock bottom. I chugged a cup of Americano at my desk just to regain a little bit of energy. If this continued, I was going to torture myself to death. So, I decided to test the waters and see if I really had said anything I shouldn't have that night. Assistant Edwin, is there anything else? If there is, just say it. Hesitation is not your style. Arthur looked up at me. Mr. Arthur, I wanted to ask. Did I say anything I shouldn't have that night? I asked, choosing my words carefully. Arthur put down his fountain pen and looked up at me. His gaze made my heart sink. Did I really say something? Just as my hands were about to leave marks from me pinching them so hard, he finally spoke. What exactly is Assistant Edwin referring to? Just some things that shouldn't be said. Did I really talk a lot that day? A smile gradually surfaced in Arthur's eyes. Yet my heart sank deeper and deeper. If Assistant Edwin is talking about the complaints about your colleagues, there were indeed a few, but only a very small portion. There wasn't anything else. I felt the stone in my heart finally drop. Really? What else? Or is it that Assistant Edwin has some secret you don't want me to find out? Of course I had secrets, but since they were secrets, I definitely couldn't say them. Then I have nothing else. Thank you, Mr. Arthur. I'll go back to work. Just as I stepped out of the office, I was dragged away by Marcy. Senior, is there something important? Marcy closed the door to the break room and looked at me nervously. Do you know what you did after you got drunk a few days ago? I smiled and waved my hand. I know. Didn't I just complain about some colleagues? There shouldn't be anything else. Marcy had a difficult expression on his face, and the words he spoke instantly made me want to jump off a building. No, it wasn't just that. You mistook Mr. Arthur for a male host, asked him how much money it would take for him to be your stand-in, hugged him refusing to let go, and even tried to stuff money down his collar. All right, stop talking, just let me die right now. Marcy looked at my pale face and patted my shoulder. It's not that your senior didn't want to save you. It's truly because you were too strong at the time. I couldn't pull you off no matter how hard I tried. In the end, Mr. Arthur was the one who took you away. I clutched my chest, leaning against the counter. Senior, actually, you didn't need to tell me all this. The reason I chose to forget was because I didn't want to know. Huh? I figured as the person involved, you should know. Since that's the case, I won't tell you next time. There won't be a next time. I will never touch alcohol again for the rest of my life. Sitting at my desk with my heart dead as ashes, I began to doubt Arthur's words. This is what he calls, nothing happened? Does he think it only counts as something happened if I actually forced myself on him? I covered my forehead with a headache. Forget it, maybe we just have different levels of caring about things. I can't blame him. After all, he was the one who got harassed. Right, I can't blame him. But the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to die. I couldn't shake the feeling that Arthur keeping this from me was so he could retaliate later, or use it as blackmail to force me to obey him in the future. No matter which possibility it was, I couldn't bear the consequences. Should I just resign? If I resign, I won't have to worry about this anymore. But I quickly shut down that idea. I still have an astronomical mortgage to pay. If I resign, am I going to survive on thin air? Chapter 7. Nora. Just pretend you don't know anything. Since he isn't saying anything, you play dumb too. Me, I can't pretend. Nora. Then resign. Me. I can barely manage to pretend I don't know. I figured it out. This kind of thing is a psychological game of chicken. Whoever loses their cool and speaks first loses. Anyway, even if it kills me, I won't ask Arthur about that night again. I'll just pretend nothing ever happened. After a few days of living in apprehension, just when I was about to throw the matter to the back of my mind, I suddenly realized the way Arthur looked at me lately was very wrong. The affection in his eyes was as thick as unmeltable honey, direct and naked. But whenever I tried to get a closer look, he would immediately avert his gaze, reverting to his usual aloof and serious demeanor, as if everything was just a delusion of my unrequited love. As a qualified, highly paid executive assistant, reading people was my strong suit. After days of covert observation, I was certain he was absolutely acting abnormal. It wasn't just a matter of lingering gazes anymore. His behavior was becoming increasingly boundaryless, even initiating ambiguous physical contact from time to time. Yet, whenever I looked at him vigilantly, he could pretend nothing happened, either keeping a straight face while talking about work or flawlessly explaining it away as an accidental bump. After it happened so many times, I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, even starting to doubt if there was something wrong with my brain. Just when I was about to be driven crazy, Madame Mariah made her move again. This time, not only did she come aggressively, but she marched straight into the company and slapped a stack of brand new blind date photos right in front of Arthur. Does Assistant Edwin think there is anyone suitable for me in here? Arthur suddenly turned his head, kicking the ball to me. I glanced at the table full of photos, all shapes and sizes, various socialites and heirs. But I wasn't stupid enough to personally recommend blind dates to my secret crush. I put on my professional fake smile. As long as Mr. Arthur likes them, that's what matters. After all, only you know who suits you best. Arthur picked up a photo with his long, slender fingers, but his gaze bypassed the picture and landed heavily on me. Then what type does Assistant Edwin like? I knew he would direct the fire toward me, and I was preparing to brush it off with my previous excuse. But this time, Arthur clearly had no intention of letting me off the hook. Is that so? But when Assistant Edwin got drunk that night, that wasn't what you said. They say wine brings out the truth, so what you said that night must be the truth, right? My scalp went numb instantly, alarm bells ringing. What criteria did I say when I was drunk that day? Criteria exactly like me. Cough, cough, cough. I almost choked to death on my own saliva on the spot. Impossible. There's absolutely no way I would say that. Arthur rested his chin on one hand, looking at me leisurely. Indeed, those weren't your exact words. I had just breathed a sigh of relief, thinking to myself, see, how could I be so blunt? He added slowly and methodically. You said you like someone who is 1.9 meters tall, strongly built, with large pectoral muscles, likes wearing suits, is handsome, usually looks fierce, but treats you very well, and ideally has a great sense of contrast. My throat tightened, cold sweat about to break out. Was Assistant Edwin not describing me? I'm dead. No. Dropping those two words, I fled in panic. Because of his calculated words, I suffered from insomnia for 2 whole nights. I realized he must be hiding something. That night, I definitely spilled all my secrets. The worst-case scenario. Arthur knew everything, yet treated me like a dancing clown for his amusement. Whenever I thought about this, my heart ached like it was being pierced by needles. To prevent myself from a complete breakdown, I pondered for 2 days and finally made a decision. I couldn't stay by Arthur's side anymore, but I couldn't lose my high-paying job. So, I bypassed the chain of command and sent a message to the old chairman, Mr. Kevin, applying for a transfer to a branch office. Mr. Kevin replied that this matter required careful consideration and we would discuss it in person after he returned to the country. During the waiting period, I was both anxious and held a kind of desperate anticipation. Although going to a branch office might mean a pay cut, it was better than enduring the torturous, lingering probing by Arthur's side every day. On the agreed day, I arrived at the cafe early. Just as I lowered my head to check the time, someone sat down in the seat across from me. I put on a polite smile and looked up, but froze into a stone statue the moment I saw the person clearly. Mr. Arthur? Arthur's face was covered in a layer of frost, carrying obvious anger. Yet he looked as if he was laughing out of sheer fury. If Assistant Edwin wants a transfer, why didn't you inform your direct supervisor first? Telling Mr. Kevin is the same thing. After all, I originally started working under. Smack. Arthur violently slammed the velvet box in his hand onto the table, rudely interrupting me. Why do you want to leave? Because I want a new development. I want to step out of my comfort zone and change my current life. I stammered out the official reasons, finding them flimsy myself. Arthur actually managed to suppress his temper and listen to the end, but the cold sneer on the corner of his mouth put me on pins and needles. Just like that. Just like that. As a boss, Mr. Arthur should also respect an employee's desire for self-development. Arthur gritted his teeth, pronouncing each word distinctly. Respect. How could I not respect it? Coincidentally, I happen to have a new development right here. I wonder if Assistant Edwin would like to hear it. I froze. What new development? Arthur picked up the box on the table, flicked open the clasp with his distinct knuckles, and pushed it right in front of me. On the quiet velvet cushion lay a dazzling men's diamond ring. The new development is, marry me. My brain completely crashed. Mr. Arthur, please don't joke with me. Arthur leaned forward slightly, aggressively closing the distance between us. I am not joking with you. Perhaps you are too dense to see it, but I have indeed admired Assistant Edwin for a long time. Previously, keeping in mind that you said you had someone you liked, I could only constantly test the waters in secret. As a result, I found out that you didn't even notice my probing. My breath caught as I frantically recalled our interactions over the past 2 years. I genuinely hadn't realized he was baiting me. Seeing my blank expression, Arthur's face grew darker. I knew it. You really didn't feel a thing. I whispered a weak defense. Maybe Mr. Arthur's probing was a bit too subtle. You. Forget it. I won't argue with you about this. He took a deep breath, as if making a massive concession. I admit you did say other things after getting drunk that night, and I deliberately kept it from you. That is my fault, and I apologize. Oh, it's fine, I replied instinctively. So what exactly did I say to you that night? Arthur suddenly choked on his words. He averted his gaze, but his eyes grew heated, and even the tips of his ears flushed with a suspicious red. He turned his head away and said in a muffled voice, "You said you liked me." I immediately snapped my mouth shut, wishing I could find a crack in the ground right then and bury myself. Oh, then why didn't you just tell me straight out the next day? If I had laid it all out the next day, wouldn't you have just hidden from me out of absolute shame and indignation? By then, before I could even confess my feelings, I probably would have received your resignation letter first. I had no words to reply. He was right. He had completely figured out my ostrich-like personality. I thought we had plenty of time, that I could slowly boil the frog. Since you are right by my side, spending day and night together, you would feel my feelings eventually. But look what happened. Your first reaction upon discovering a clue was actually to figure out how to run away. His words made me feel a bit guilty, and I mumbled with a lack of confidence. Well, who knew you thought that way? I thought you deliberately hid it from me because you wanted to use it as blackmail to retaliate against me later. Me retaliate against you? For what? Am I that boring and petty? I swallowed hard, gulping down the retort that reached my lips, afraid he would get upset. And the blind date thing. I originally wanted to sternly refuse right from the start. But look at you. For the sake of the double salary my mom promised, you insisted on dutifully taking her side to force me. Use your brain. If you won me over, would you ever be short of that little bit of salary? I understood the logic, but who would have thought the dignified CEO of the group, the iceberg boss, would be so easy to win over? I silently rubbed my fingers together, not daring to make a peep. So, the secret crush you mentioned, who is it exactly? He pressed on step by step. Blushing, I threw caution to the wind. Of course it's you. But the status gap between us is so huge, your family's side. I still couldn't help but worry about reality. Edwin, are you some sort of terrible person? Do status and position really matter that much? Let me tell you the truth. Everyone in my family knows I like you, and not a single one objects. Otherwise, why do you think you made an appointment with my dad today? But the person sitting in front of you ended up being me. Alright, but wasn't he also a bit too confident? So certain that he could win me over the moment he stepped in? A chaotic misunderstanding had actually welcomed the best outcome. I didn't have to be exiled to a branch office, and more importantly, the person I had always looked up to and secretly loved had actually been deeply watching me all along too. I reached out my finger and silently pushed the jewelry box on the table back. Arthur's gaze instantly turned dangerous, glaring at me immediately. What are you doing? You want to reject me? No. I quickly smoothed his feathers. It's just that, although you like me and I like you, we haven't even properly dated yet. How can we jump straight to proposing and marriage right from the start? This progress is way too fast. Arthur thought about it seriously, seemingly agreeing that it did lack a bit of process. Fine, then let's date first. When we walked out of the coffee shop, the atmosphere was subtly awkward. In the end, Arthur forcefully grasped my hand, intertwining our fingers. I've wanted to do this for a long time, he said softly. Edwin, from now on, if you like someone, just say it straight. Don't bottle it up inside. Confessing is the most important thing. I raised an eyebrow. Then if I fall for someone else in the future, can I also confess directly? The clasped hand was suddenly gripped tightly by him, the force startlingly strong. He gritted his teeth. Who else do you want to like? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. All right, I only like you. I originally thought this delayed romance would last a long time like a slow jog, but I severely underestimated Arthur's terrifying proactive nature. First day holding hands, second day casually entering my home and hugging, third day naturally kissing. Only 1 month later, I was half coaxed, half tricked by him to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our marriage certificate. The speed of this relationship's development was simply more exaggerated than riding a rocket. But after getting married, I realized that Arthur wasn't lying when he said he didn't care about status and position. It was also true that his whole family didn't care either. Sometimes, love truly requires the courage to speak out. If you miss out due to excessive inferiority and apprehension, that would be the biggest regret of your life. The wedding scene a year later was grand and romantic. And Senior Marcy was probably the most depressed person in the entire venue. "Junior, does this mean I can't ask you out for drinks anymore?" He held his champagne, a look of sorrow on his face. I smiled and comforted him. "You can. Drinking occasionally is fine. That's good. Then next time How about you try drinking with me next time?" Arthur, like a ghost, appeared behind me at some unknown point. One hand wrapped around my waist with extreme possessiveness, looking at Marcy with a half-smile. Senior Marcy went completely stiff, his survival instinct instantly maxing out. He very tactfully took a step back. I'll pass. Drinking is bad for the health. I've decided to quit drinking starting tomorrow." Wishing the newlyweds a happy marriage and 100 years of harmony. With that, he oiled the soles of his shoes and slipped away. I laughed in amusement, pinching Arthur's long fingers. "What, on our big day? You're even jealous of my senior?" He looked down at me intently, his eyes so deep they could suck a person in. "Yeah, I'm jealous," he demanded righteously. "Coax me." I tilted my head up and placed a kiss on his lips. "Coaxing you." If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.